Hello, students. As we continue our discussion about the roots and coefficients of a given quadratic equation, we will tackle about this particular topic, which is the relation of two roots. Here, the objective of this lesson is I want you to be able to describe the relationship between the coefficients, okay, yung A, B, and C, dun sa roots of a quadratic equation. Okay, so that's the first goal. And the second goal or objective is using those particular things, we will write a quadratic equation given yung pair ng roots natin or yung solution. So isn't it wonderful? We could create a quadratic equation using a pair of a solution. So how to do that? So now let's define first what is relation of roots. Okay? There are two things that you need to remember. The first one is the sum of the roots. Okay? Sum of the roots, when we say sum, we will add the two roots. So sabi dito, the sum of the two roots is the additive inverse of the quotient of B and A. So here, this is the formula, the root 1. So I use R na as to represent the roots. Okay, R of 1 is the first root, R of 2 is the second root. Okay, the root 1, when we add them to the root 2, that is equal to this particular quotient of these two coefficients, so negative B over A. Okay, the second one would be the product of the roots. Kanina, kinuha natin yung sum. Ngayon, multiply naman natin yung dalawang roots. And that is equal to the quotient of C and A. Okay? Again, si BA, si CA, mga coefficients lang din yan. At mabilis lang natin ma-identify yan when we have a quadratic equation na naka-standard form. Okay? So, now, I have your standard form, no? We want to make this as a general form to have a new transformation na may bagong itsura, no? Para mangyari 'yon, ang gagawin natin, we will make this general form of quadratic equation, standard form, as this one. Okay? So we want to eliminate or basically make this one yung first coefficient natin or leading coefficient natin na gawin natin 1. For us to do that, we can divide both sides. Okay? So, di-divide lang natin both sides. Okay? By A. Okay? So, i-divide lang natin yung both sides by A to basically eliminate this particular coefficient. Okay? So, by doing that, ang mangyayari dyan, we have ax squared over A. So, pinaghiwalay ko lang muna yan, itong part na to. Also, we have plus bx over A plus C over A as well equals 0 over 8, that is 0. Okay? Basically, pinaghiwalay ko lang naman itong tatlong to, no? Pero ang denominator pa rin nila is A. So, now, we can cancel this out, no? And make it 1 because A divided by A is 1, which leaves us x squared in this part plus B over A x. Ito yung pangalawa. At yung pangatlo, we have plus C over A equals 0. Okay? And this is the new look, no? So, ang gagawin ko siguro, ililipat ko na lang yan dito sa kabila. No? This is our new look from this particular equation. No? Nagkaroon tayo ng manibagong itsura ng general form of quadratic equation. Okay? So, now, bakit kaya natin ginawang ganyan? For us to appreciate yung kaninang mga information, let's have our first example. So, in this case, we would find the sum and product of a given roots. Okay? So, we will determine by inspection yung mga roots ng quadratic equation na to. We all know na hindi pa natin alam yung roots nito, pero may given tayo na quadratic equation. So, gamitin lang natin yung information kanina. Of course, we want to identify the A, which is 1, B, that is negative 3, C, we have negative 28. Okay? So, meron tayong A, B, and C. The first thing is kunin muna natin yung sum ng roots. We all know that the sum of the roots, ito yung formula. So, root 1 plus root 2 equals negative B over A. Okay, by default, yan gagamitin natin yung formula. Actually, may proving yan pero for this particular discussion, hindi ko muna siya ipapakita sa inyo. But we want to find this sum of the two roots. Okay, for us to do that, we have negative pa rin dyan. Ito yon. And we have B. B is negative 3. Lalagay natin dito with parenthesis na. Over A, we have 1. Okay? So, simplifying this one, negative times negative, that is positive. Okay? When you multiply this one, that is positive. 3 divided by 1, we have 3. Okay? So, the sum of the two roots is 3. Ibig sabihin, kung meron kang dalawang roots nito, yung quadratic equation na to, kapag pinag-add down natin, that is 3. Okay, so, di ba? We have the sum. Now, we have the roots naman na product. Okay? We will use the same information. We have root 1 times root 2. Okay? So, root 1 and times root 2 is equal to C over A. Okay? So, our C here is negative 28. Right? So, negative 28, ang lalagay ko dito, over A, that is 1. And when you simplify negative 28 divided by 1, which will give us negative 28. And the product of the two roots, okay, is negative 28. Imagine mo meron kang dalawang roots, pag minag-multiply mo daw yun, negative 28. So, ito na nga, no? This is our roots, or sum and product of the roots. Or the roots of the equation are, of this equation, kapag sinold natin, is 7. Okay, pakita ko na sa inyo. Yung root 1 is 7. Root 2 is negative 4. Okay? So, pwede ka na mag-isip, no? Gamit ng mga information na ito, mag-iisip ka na lang, no? Ano kaya yung dalawang number na kapag pinag-multiply, negative 28 yung lalabas. Tapos, kapag pinag-add natin, positive 3 ang lalabas. So, ganyan ang gagawin natin ngayon. Now, when you check that, actually, when you plug in all those roots, mag-i-equate pa rin yan sa 0. And, tignan natin, no? Para mas ma-imagine natin paano ba yung nangyayari dun. So, we have root 1 plus root 2. Okay? Root 1 is 7 plus root 2, we have negative 4, and that is positive 3. Okay? Ito yon. Yung product naman ng dalawang root, for example, we have this one, root 1 and root 2. No, that's not plus, it's multiplied. Okay, 7 times negative 4, that is equivalent to negative 28. Okay? So, ito yun, no? Sum and product of the two roots. Okay? So, just imagine, you can use pala itong method na to para ma-identify mo na yung dalawang roots. Okay? So, the next example would be like this. Okay? What if the A is greater than 1? Okay? The first thing that we need to do here is basically to identify A, which is 2, B, which is negative 4, C is, sige, na si 1 ay hindi pa ito yung equation na ito hindi naka-standard form. Ilipat natin sa kabila. Now, we have negative 1. Okay? So, what else? Next is, we need to find the sum of the two roots. Root 1 plus root 2 is equal to negative B over A. Okay? So, negative B, or negative here, yung B natin is negative 4. This one over A, which is positive 2. Okay? So, negative times negative, we have positive. 4 divided by 2, that is going to be 2. The sum of the two roots is positive 2. Now, the root 1, or the product of the two roots, would be like this. Okay, so we have C over A. So, our C here is negative 1 over A, that is positive 2. Then, our final output would be negative 1. Okay? So, the product would be negative 1/2. So, you can think of a two numbers, no? Two roots na kapag pinag-add ay positive 2. Kapag pinag-multiply ay negative 1/2. Okay? So, you can use quadratic formula if you want to, no? Para makita ninyo yan, yung output dyan. Okay? Kung ano yung dalawang roots. And you can verify kung pa itong ginawa natin example. Okay? So, the next one, or this is your turn. No? Actually, from the previous example that I gave you, I want you to use those following information to answer this particular two examples. Okay? So, you can check if you want to the validity of your solution. Okay, so as we continue for our second example, we will write quadratic equation given a pair of roots. So, how does it possible? So, paano yun, no? Given the knowledge that we have in the previous discussion, we could write a quadratic equation. So, given here 7 and negative 2. What is 7 and negative 2? So, 7 is our representation of root 1. Negative 2 would be our root number 2. No? From these two roots, gagawa daw tayo ng quadratic equation. Okay? So, balikan lang natin kanina yung ginawa natin na transformation. Okay? So, dito sa part na to. No? Ito na yung new look ng standard form kanina. Okay? As you can see, parang familiar itong B over A na to. Kanina, yung B over A natin is our sum of roots. Pero you use the negative sign. No? Yung C over A natin, that is the product of the two roots. Okay, so we have this particular given. Ang gagawin ko, papalitan ko lang naman yung B over A natin. So we all know that B over A, no, that is the sum of the two roots. That is negative. Syempre, negative B over A ang ginamit doon. So we have negative root 1 plus root 2. Take note, we have x here. This one is the sum of the two roots. Yung kaninang ginamit natin sa mga examples na binigay ko sa inyo. Okay? Next is C over A. So when we say C over A, kanina, gumamit naman tayo ng product. So C over A is the product of the two roots. So we have root 1 times root 2. So you can write that dito, or you can make them na pagtabihin na lang natin. So we have equals 0. And you know what? This particular form, ito yung gagamitin natin para masagutan natin yung second example natin. So we have, allow me to copy this particular information, kasi gagamitin natin yan dito sa ating first example. Okay. So allow me to use this particular equation. Okay? You know what? Just to review, this one is the sum of the two roots. Ito naman yung product ng dalawang roots. May given ka ng mga roots dito. Okay? So our root 1, allow me to write, that is 7. Root 2 is negative 2. Okay? So gamitin natin yung dalawang root na yan. So we have this form, and where the sum of the roots, we have root 1 plus root 2 is equal daw yan sa yung mga given na value dito. We have 7 plus negative 2. Okay? So when we add them together, 7 plus negative 2, that is going to be positive 5. And this is gonna be our first part. So by the way, ito palang part na to, may papalitan ng 5 mamaya. Okay? So next, we have the product of the two roots. Root 1 times root 2 is equal to 7 times negative 2. Okay? So when we multiply them together, that is negative, or 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. Okay. By the way, this one will change mamaya ng negative 14. Okay? So, then ang gagawin natin, we will change our equation, and this is gonna be our equation. So, we have x squared. Itong x squared na to, walang mabago dyan. Okay? Kaya nilagay ko lang dito sa x. Nilagay ko lang yung x squared dito. Okay? Minus the sum of the roots, that is 5. Okay, we have 5 here. And we have here x, right? So we have x plus the root 1, or the product of the two roots, that is negative 14. So I will change positive and I will make it negative 14. Okay, so we have this particular equation. Equals yan dapat sa 0. So by the way, the sign is dependent to the given value here. Ito kasi ay negative, kaya naging negative 14 na yan. Okay, so our equation, given the two roots, would be like this. If I ask you, I wanted to create a quadratic equation using these two roots, this particular method is beneficial for the process of creating an equation. Okay, especially quadratic equation. Okay, so that is our first example. So allow me to present to you the second example. So we have this particular example, negative square root of 5. Then the second root would be square root of 5. So allow me to write here root 1, that is negative square root of 5. Is natin. And the root number 2, we have positive square root of 5. Okay? So again, we will use the form. Kung natatandaan niyo yung form kanina, we have x squared. Okay? Minus the sum of the roots, that is root 1 plus root 2. And we will put x here, plus the product of the two roots, that is root 1 times root 2, equals 0. And we have this particular root 1. So allow me to share here how we add this particular two roots. Root 1 plus root 2. That is negative square root of 5 plus positive square root of 5. Okay? And we all know that is going to be 0, right? So that is 0. Okay? So sige, lagay ko dito. That is going to be 0. Dito natin lagay. So by the way, ito may papalitan mamaya ng 0. So we have another method. We have product of the two roots. The product of these two roots would be equal to negative square root of 5 times square root of 5. Okay? So, there is a method na ginagamit dito na if you multiply this one, okay, of course, negative times positive is negative. Okay? So, here, ang ginagawa kasi dito, since parehas naman sila ng index, no? Parehas sila ng radical symbol, nilalagay ko lang muna yan sa loob ng bahay. So, gumagawa ko dito ng bahay, radical sign, and then, ginagawa ko dito sa dalawang radicand natin na 5, i-multiply lang natin yan. So, we have 5 times 5, or 5 times 5. Kumbaga, pinagsasama lang natin yan sa loob ng bahay kasi nasa loob naman sila ng bahay, tama? So, ngayon, nasa loob na sila ng bahay, ang gagawin natin is, we will simplify them. So, we have negative square root of 5 times 5, that is 25. Okay? So, we can simplify this one, right? Square root of 25, that is a perfect square number. And that is going to be positive or negative 5. So we have here negative, no? So, the answer would be negative 5. Okay? So, square root of 25, that is 5. We have negative here, so I put negative here. So, the answer would be the product of the two roots is negative 5. There you go. So, we can create our new equation. Our final equation would be like this. Okay, of course, we have x squared. Ito yun. Minus the sum of the roots. Allow me to change my color. We have 0. Of course, we will change. We have x squared here minus 0x, no? Plus this one, negative 5. Or we can change it as negative 5 kasi yung product natin is negative 5 equals 0. Okay? So, of course, we can simplify this one. 0x, we can cancel them out. And the final equation would be x squared minus 5 equals 0. Okay? And this is gonna be your final answer or your final form if you manage to find the quadratic equation of a given two roots. Okay? So, this is gonna be the final form. So, in this case, I will try your skills if you could manage to change this particular pair of roots to a quadratic equation. So, feel free to pause this video, and if you want to go back to the previous process, no? This is the first process, and this is the second process. The same process that we did here, but different pair of roots. Okay, you can manage to go back in that particular example. Okay, so now let's proceed to the example number 3. Okay? For the example number 3, in this case, napakarami naman itong relation of roots na to. Sinunod pa rin natin siya into writing quadratic equation. So, here, we have this particular example. And we have this quadratic equation which roots are twice, no? This time, in word siya, no? Twice the roots of the 6x squared minus 5x plus 1 equals 0. Okay? So, ang pinaka-hinahanap dito, yung quadratic equation. Okay? Pero may sinasabi dyan, no? Na ang quadratic equation ay twice ng roots of 6x squared minus 5x plus 1 equals 0. So, yung pinakamadaling paraan din para gawin to, you can find the roots of this particular equation and then, i-twice nyo lang, multiply mo sa 2. Okay? Or, we could use the process na ginamit natin kanina. So, the roots of the required equation are this one. We have 2. Sabi, twice eh. Twice is 2 times, no? 2 roots of 1 plus 2 roots of 2. Okay? And that is equal to 2 times roots of 1 plus roots of 2. So, nilabas ko lang yung common factor which is yung 2. Okay? Ito yung 2. Nilabas ko lang. Now, ang ibig sabihin na naman to, twice ng sum ng dalawang roots. Okay? Now, we have this particular format, 2 times, we all know the root 1 plus root 2, that is also equivalent to the coefficient negative b over a, right? So, also, we all know na yung a natin, hindi pa natin na-identify, no, is 6, b is negative 5, and c is positive 1. Ito yun, 6, negative 5, positive 1. And we can simplify or we can plug in the b, which is, may negative dyan, negative 5 over a, that is 6. And then we get to simplify this particular problem. So we have 2 negative times negative 5, that is positive. So we have 5 over 6. Okay? And we get to simplify this once again. We have this 5 times 2, that is going to be, so dito, no? 10 over 6. Or, when we get the lowest term, yung lowest term yan is, divisible yan parehas sa 2. 10 divided by 2, that is 5. 6 divided by 2, that is 3. Okay? Ito na yung twice ng sum of roots. Okay? Next is, kukunin natin yung twice ng product ng dalawang roots. So, we have 2 root 1 times 2 root 2. Okay? So, we have this particular given, 2 times 2, that is 4. Right? And then, may iwan natin, finactor out natin yung 4, we have root 1 times root 2. Okay? So, we all know yung root 1 kanina and root 2. This is a product of roots, and that is equivalent to the coefficient C over A. Okay? That is equal to 4. We all know the C, that is 1, right? So, 1 over A, that is going to be 6. Okay? So, 4 times 1, that is 4 over 6. Or, this is divisible by 2, no? 4 divided by 2, that is 2. 6 divided by 2, that is 3. Okay? And this is the product of the twice of the given roots. Okay? So, we will use this particular equation, no? Allow me to minimize yung laki nila, no? Para maximize natin yung space. Okay? So, ang gawin naman natin, no? We could identify the quadratic equation, or we could create a quadratic equation using this particular formula. So, we have this form pala. We have x squared minus, so we have x squared minus the sum of the roots, root 1 plus root 2, x plus the product of the two roots, that is root 1 times root 2 equals 0. So, nakuha na natin kanina yung sum and product, no? We have this particular x squared minus the sum, which is 5 over 3. We will use this particular information. X plus the product would be 2 over 3. Okay, so we have 2 over 3 equals 0. Okay, so this is the other form, the final form, or the other form of this quadratic equation. Okay, so we could write another form without the denominator here. So we will transform itong equation na to. No, pwede naman na to actually. Pero I will show you the other form. So I will put my scratch here. So we have this x squared minus 5 over 3x plus 2 over 3 equals 0. So, ang goal natin matanggal itong denominator na 3. So, allow me to change my color. Okay, so, para matanggal itong denominator na 3, no, ang gagawin natin is multiply natin yan sa 3, both sides. Okay? So, we have 3 times x squared. That is 3. That is going to be 3x squared. Okay? Next is we multiply 3 times negative 5. That is negative 15. Divided by 3, that is negative 5. Okay, so we have negative 5x. So the next is we need to multiply 3 times 2, that is 6, divided by 3, that is going to be 2. So we have positive 2 equals 0 times 3, we have 0. Okay, so finally, yung ibang form nitong quadratic equation na to ay pwedeng isulat as this one. Okay, so this is going to be the final answer. 3x squared minus 5x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, so I hope you get this particular process of finding the quadratic equation using this particular problem. No, what if binigyan ka ng given na to? No, ang sinabi lang dito, twice ng roots, no, o kaya thrice ng roots. Ano kung gagawin mo? So this is one thing that you can do for you to find the quadratic equation, which is the goal of this particular example. Okay, so I believe this is going to be the final session, or the final part of our discussion of relations of roots, as well as yung discriminant nung discussion natin last time. Okay, so this is going to be our discussion for today. If you have questions, you can ask your teacher about the process, or you can repeat the discussion by clicking the YouTube video para makita ninyo. You can review, replay, or rewatch the particular part kung saan kayo nahirapan. Okay? So, see you sa ating classroom.